We're here in Highland Park, Michigan on Hamilton Avenue. It's my neighborhood where I grew up at, and this vacant lot is 277 Geneva. And there used to be a giant apartment building here. You may have seen pictures of it in our documentary, Motown Mafia, because his dad and his dad's partner in the H business bought this building when they first started getting a lot of money in the early 70s. And it's been torn down, but there's a lot of history here. So I grew up a couple blocks away, and while I was growing up, you guys were turning this into one of the first Carters. So tell us about a summer night in '86 or '7 when a certain big whale of the Detroit streets had to come through and bail you guys out a little bit.
So yeah, so it's not basically, it is. It's the summer of '87. It's crazy. So for those who kind of remember Detroit history, that was the year really where the crack epidemic in Detroit hit center stage. So
it had been around, but that's when it kicked in.
Yeah. That's when it just took off. So anyway, Eddie Old Man and them just caught that big case in '85. The YBI, the one with his father, Big Eddie, the fat man.
Kind of the aftermath of YBI.
Aftermath, Pep, Butch, Eddie Old family got twisted up in that case, right? So they all had to go sit down.
And your dad was still in the pen.
No, dad is home.
Just barely, though.
Just barely. He's just about to kick off his Bahamas thing, right? So it's kind of, a lot of shit is in flux between the two families. They just caught a big case again. They all had to go sit down. Pop just getting home, getting his thing reestablished. So Eddie and them, as you said, was a big building here. So kind of Eddie Jr.'s got to take over all the family properties at the time. So we young.
And how old are you and him at this point? 20, 19?
No, so 87, I'm like a junior in college.
21.
21. He 2 years younger than me, so he's 19.
Okay.
He's 19. And he got the weight of the world on his situation. All of a sudden we go from, Kingpin's kids to now Kingpin's kids gotta
get out in the street.
Get out in the street and run the show. So money's, money going left, money going right. We young, we still getting plenty of money.
So you're selling out of this building?
Yeah, by this time now, because I think one of the first bags that he had got from the Bahamas had just come in, as we refer to him in from Mr. Q down the islands, and then another guy, big homie who out there that me and Eddie Jr. just call our friend. Those who know, and those who don't know. Our friend, lifelong friend, he saw that me and Eddie was kind of in a way. He gave us a word and said, see if this helps.
So this is 87, you're 21, Eddie's 19, you guys are getting some cocaine from your father, some from somebody else.
A good friend.
You're cooking it up, and you're selling what, 20s out of here, or?
Dimes.
Okay.
All dimes. And later.
And how much a day was it probably doing?
Oh, man. For real, this was one of the original Carters. Because we had to be doing about 15,000 a day back then, just off the rip. Eddie's uncle actually came in and brought some stability for his own self, kind of took over running the building. But the building needed repair. It was a huge building.
Oh, it's giant.
Giant building. And then, taxes on it. So, yeah, taxes on here, repairs on here. They still had the buildings on Oakman, right up there at 6th and Hamilton on the corner. Long story short.
Oh, and just quick. So my father grew up in this building, and his mother grew up in this building, and her parents were the not the owners, but the maintenance, whatever. Yeah, maintenance, so they got a free apartment.
Caretaker, they call it.
So it's a huge building. So the caretaker's got like 2 free apartments. That's how big it was.
Yeah. And so of course this 87, Eddie Old Man had just finished up the earlier bid from the big run in the 70s. In that time, him and of course Demetrius and my father was all at Highland together. So as everybody's come to know, this guy known as Demetrius Holloway. So when Demetrius
And Eddie kind of plugged him with some Colombians in there.
Damn straight did.
Okay.
Damn straight did. Eddie kind of really took a liking to the guy. You know, Demetrius was in there for some irrelevant
Theft or something.
mail. It was a fair case, which is what got him in the fair joint. So it was
Because
like
he was working at the post office, and I think he set up some type of inside. They robbed a train.
a
something.
postal train robbery, but it was a federal
offense,
which is what got him to Milan, which is what got him there with the big man there. Eddie takes a liking to him, plug him in, give him, you know. Demetrius was just a side note, a guy with charisma.
And intelligence.
And intelligent, because every big fella, whether it was Eddie, Frank Usher, God rest his soul, R.I.P. Frank Nitti, seemed like every big fella who he came across their path, they recognized something in this guy and be like, we can fuck with him. This guy, he gonna do right. And so anyway, Eddie, Demetrius then got cool. When Demetrius comes home, Demetrius must have come home by 87, late into 86, 87. Demetrius got his thing going. He's getting money by 87. So,
and you guys have money passed through your hands, but it's kind of overwhelming. And you got a lot of responsibilities.
It's overwhelming. We got a lot of responsibility.
And you're new to being the boss.
And
you're not new to money, but you're new to bills, maybe.
Right. It was
you're used to spending, not
managing, not budgeting, re-up, pay the crew,
support, fix, keep the building in shape. It's still an actual building with tenants and all that.
Yeah. And property tax, income tax.
Plus you take care of your mom, sister, all that.
Plus all the infrastructure just of being who he was in the streets at that time. So yeah, even though it sounds like a ton of money coming through your hands, $15,000 a day, it really ain't. It really ain't when you playing grown man. When you playing grown man, big fella.
For two different families.
It ain't that.
Yeah.
So Eddie Old Man basically reached out, told Demetrius, you know, what time it is. Eddie Old Man had looked out for Demetrius's mom, like when they was locked up for that 18-month period when Eddie was out and Demetrius was still locked up. So the relationship was real, and one day me and Eddie, we kind of fucked up, to be honest, and he let me call D, and I'll never forget him. So we out here, there used to be a basketball hoop set up there where all the kids from the neighborhood would play in the alley here, and we had been waiting on Demetrius for about 2 hours, and he kept calling Eddie saying, I'm on my way. Then about an hour and a half later, we call him and he like, little homie, I'm in your back door. I'll never forget. He's like, I'm coming through the back door. Oh, he
had a cell phone.
Yeah, in the car. Yeah. And he comes through and he was riding a gold Honda Acura coupe. And he come through. He said, well, I'm coming through your back door. And he was literally coming through the back door. So he's coming through the alley, and the entrance to the back of the building was right here in the middle of the alley. And he just nonchalantly, I don't know, Eddie reminded the story. He says, I think Rick was with him, Maserati. Oh. I don't remember exactly. I just remember Demetrius pulling up. He rolled out the window. Very nonchalantly just handed Eddie Jr. A shopping bag with about $67,000 in it. And $67,000, and just gave him a pat on the back, gave him the old pep talk. You take this. Your daddy said, drop this off. Y'all straighten out.
That wasn't no loan.
No.
That was just...
and it was very nonchalant. He was like, your daddy said, drop this off to you. Y'all do what you need to do with this. And very nonchalantly, if you need something else, just give me a holler. I got you.
And you guys were able to get yourself together.
That definitely helped turn the tide.
$67,000, $3,000. And that's back when $70,000 was a lot of money. I mean, that's 1987.
You got at least say 5 times, right?
Yeah,
so for all
3 or 4 for sure.
It's like, I mean,
$250,000
in today money.
So he was making so much money he could just drop $250,000, and it was not a loan.
This was not one of them. Get this back to me, get some work, and then pay me back. No, this was because we like that, and you're my man's child, and you know. And on that note, think later, and Demetrius was like that, for real. He was. If you had did time with him, it was a different world back then, man. If you had did time with him when he got on, if you reached out to him and said, I'm in between some, I think one time, I know, one time the old man, or maybe about 6 months after that, the old man was in between some trying to put together a deal again for the move in the islands. He just asked, I'm trying to do this, that, and the third, and he's like, let's come by the 19th.
19th hole
19th,
on Shane.
On Shane.
That was his headquarters.
Here go 35. Just help you do what you're trying to do.
Just gave it to him.
Yeah. It wasn't. That's real big fella shit. Because why we gonna get all complicated with a loan and this and that at this?
Because it ain't that deep.
It ain't even that deep.
Because the money, it's about the relationship, not the money.
It is about the relationship and the money.
So let's go back and give people some historical context. I briefly mentioned it. So again, this was a big giant apartment building. So we're in Highland Park. This is where Henry Ford built his first Model T plant, maybe a mile that way. I grew up about 3 blocks from here. And this was one of the most jumping, heavily industrialized parts of America in the 1920s, 30s, even as late as the 50s. I think it won like best school district in America. Yeah. But of course, the bigger they are, the harder they fall. By the 80s, and even now today, this is like East St. Louis. These are the 2 like most dangerous municipalities in the United States. Total disaster zone. So, but tell us about when did Eddie, so watch Motown Mafia. So his father is Courtney Brown Sr. and his partner was Eddie Jackson Sr. They were the biggest crew in Detroit in the 70s. And so what year did they buy this building and what was this area like then and what went on in this building? Because there was some other interesting stuff before you guys got a hold of it.
Yeah, so Eddie bought this building at the end of 1970, beginning of 1970.
Just starting to get money.
His second main, if you watch Motown Mafia, he bought that building down on Hancock, right off Woodward, which became headquarters. But this was like his first or second
investment property.
Straight up an investment property.
No drug sales.
No drug sales. He would occasionally keep some weight here, but this was not. When he bought this building, it was full of working class people working at Michigan Bell, working at the plant. Hamilton still had little antique shops up and down, little restaurants. And it was a stable.
And this was 70. Okay.
Still mixed races.
Yeah.
As late as the 70s.
Well, early, by the mid.
Yeah, I'm talking about in like 76 when he first bought it, because
it went by the late 70s. It was pretty much over with.
It had changed. But when he bought this was a prime. Highland Park was just on his last
legs.
It was on his last.
And
legs.
I'm gonna flash up some pictures right now of my grandmother and my father as children in front of this building. And then, of course, that famous picture we've used in the documentaries of his dad and Eddie in front of a car, and that's this same building. So these are all in front of the same building, which is this vacant field now, which was, oddly enough, I was connected with this being torn down. When I was in graduate school, there was a Highland Park Weed and Seed. That's when the federal government gives money for more police and to tear down buildings. And this was one of the buildings torn down in a Weed and Seed. And I never
knew why they tore down that building.
I actually came to the event. And I probably have a picture somewhere. I came to the event when they tore this down because this building was so big. There was like the mayor of the Highland Park came and there was like a speech. Like it was a big thing to tear this building down because it's the whole block.
Oh no, it was a castle.
How many units?
It was a castle.
300-400 units.
Had to be.
It's almost like a tenement building. Like it was big, but it was nice. But it was nice though.
Yeah, it would have been what we call now a small project.
Yeah,
a small project.
Probably had 900 residents or something.
Easy, and so in that 87, by 87.
And what happened to cause you to abandon it?
So, it is what it is. So I said, by the end of 87. Eddie uncle then pretty much took over is running the day-to-day hustle here.
And it's just crack.
And it's jumping. I think briefly.
And it was very violent. This is one of America's most violent neighborhoods. Like it was, did you have problems with that? Because it was murder all up and down Hamilton.
To a certain extent, not really. Everybody kind of still as late as 87 in that neighborhood knew this was Eddie Jackson's building.
But going to the store, any of that was an exercise in danger.
He had brought in some of your friends. Shout out to Scotty D. Shout out to Jabba the Hutt. Some of the old Dexter crew he had brought over here for a minute to help with management,
security, okay.
and management and security.
Yeah.
They wasn't all that friendly when they didn't want to be.
Yeah.
So that helped too. So between Eddie's old man's reputation
some real people here.
Some real people here. And we didn't do We didn't do a lot of venturing out.
No, wasn't no going to the liquor store with your chain on. Yeah.
No, I mean we had Jimmy Hurley and them had. Shout out to the Hurley family. They had the little beer and wine shop here, and you had old man Sampson. So our world was pretty.
It was this block kind of
self-contained on this block. But anyway, so Eddie Uncle Rev running the day-to-day operation, and by this time, so this had to be about October '87. Because shit, it went so sideways. I spoke about part of why we needed some money from Demetrius was, I had fucked up about $250,000 in a 90-day period of broads and blow. And anyway, so I moved to New York plus to help out the old man.
$250,000 in 90 days in 1987?
Yeah, we was clowning. We was clowning. We was getting a lot of money, man. That was the problem. We was getting too much. Because later that summer, that Bahamas thing had really kicked off, and then plus our friend is looking out for Eddie here, so we had 2 bags to fuck over. We had old boys.
You robbed Peter to pay Paul.
Oh, I had old bags, and then worst of all, I'm the money keeper for Pop's bag.
Oh, the whole lot. So
it should have got cuckoo.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I moved to New York City to slow down my life. I'll repeat that again. I moved to New York City to slow down my life.
That's wild.
And help Pops out with getting the money back to the islands. But anyway, me and Eddie, I'll never forget that. We were riding down Hamilton. We see the EMS trucks and shit out here. And his uncle again, bad manager. Decent hustler, bad property manager. He decides that instead of paying DTE, he didn't let the utility bill get sky high. He gonna do some street shit and have them
illegal hookup. And the guy kills himself.
The guy hit a pipe, gas pipe, and I guess he was out of there.
Oh, so you abandoned it at that point.
Because
I always, growing up, it was always this hulking abandoned building from the time I was about 12, which was 89 or 11, 88, whatever, yeah.
And now again, looking back, if our mind had been focused, and Eddie and them had all kind of shit going on, legal problems going on right there, and then right there after, as that shit was just going down, the old man caught another pistol case. He got violated. So we was distracted. Young, a lot of the world, because we should have saved this property. I mean, knowing obviously hindsight is 2020. I would now I would have been like, well, check this out. This is a long-term investment play. We need to get the bag.
Yeah, but you were 21 years old, yeah.
21 and people forget, right? I was at prom 3.5 years earlier.
Right.
And, people be losing perspective on that.
60-year-olds can't handle running this stuff. So,
so we 21 and right, it was damn near just left prom.
And let's do one more Motown Mafia story related to this. So just to show you to remind everybody how much money and how sophisticated they were back in the 70s. So Eddie, when he got indicted, he had been using this he had a famous black interior decorator to his homes, and when the feds were coming in, he hid art and what? So tell us on that whole.
Harrison Taylor was the premier African-American home designer of his era back in the day.
70s.
In the 70s, right. So when Eddie and them finally moved from Southfield, I mean, you got to remember when we was out there in Southfield in the 70s, we was eating on Cartier's dishes and Tiffany china and the artwork, everything was one-of-a-kind pieces being done. So, he had $500,000 worth of just stuff.
Household goods.
But again, young.
So the feds, they try to hide it.
Yeah, because.
And they stick it in here.
And
it just dissipates. Family taking it.
Family, tenants,
So it's just in a storage
I'll
room.
put it like this.
So you're in the hood.
Cartier and Tiffany at a major crack apartment ain't a good mix.
So this place is the Carter, but down in the storage locker, there's Cartier and Tiffany dishware.
It's Versailles.
Oh, wow.
It's Versailles.
It's
Versailles in the basement.
That is quite.
And they smoking upstairs.
That is. Well, that's like nothing happened in Detroit that didn't happen anywhere else. It was just more extreme. So like that's really in a nutshell. So you have goods that like at that time in the 80s, like people didn't know what the fuck
what Tiffany and Cartier,
what that stuff was unless you were a rich person in Europe.
Yeah.
So it's sitting here and people just taking it and probably getting nothing for it at the pawn shop. Or shit, it might be people around here that got one or two of them plates in their cupboard right now.
It could easily be some of that. We used to have those what's the crystal company? That they put the Louis the 14th.
Yeah, I know. Fabergé?
Yeah, right.
Oh, you had a Fabergé?
A bunch of them. Cause I broke one as a kid. My mom got very upset.
I didn't Fabergé.
The shit was back then. A bunch of bands.
Wow.
Back then.
That's what the Russian royal family would. They would get the Fabergé eggs, the czars. Oh, you had a Fabergé?
Some of the pictures, I think it is, and in our house you can see.
Oh, wow.
No, here. So I know, like in our case, if Pop and them spent 190 on the house, they spent another 190 decorating it. But if Eddie spent back then, again, if he spent 150 on his house, but in Eddie's case, he probably put more in the house than he paid for, than he built the house. So yeah. And it's probably some antiques and some Fabergés and some Cartier and Chanel might be in the basement of one of these old spots. And unknown treasure, what they say, the treasure hunters and shit. I bet if you went through Highland Park, it'd be like a pirate treasure trove shit because it was some balling shit going on over here, man. And people we didn't know.
All right, well,
but a business regret, man. We should have done something with this. But.
We're in Highland Park, Michigan. We're at 277 Geneva. My family was in Highland Park for 100 years.
100 years.
1922. Were you still Detroit residents?
That's crazy, the connection here, though.
Yep. And then, so while you guys were doing your thing, I was a couple blocks away. And look up Highland Park on Wikipedia. I mean, this was, first Model T plant was here in the 1920s. So the population right now is about 12 to 14,000. At its peak, it was 52,000.
Wow.
They were renting beds in shifts. So if you paid rent, you'd get 8 hours in the bed, and you'd leave out the house and go to work and stay out there 16 hours, and they changed the sheets, and people were sleeping in the beds. That's how much demand for housing. And now, obviously, it ain't that.
Right.
So,
and just on the last little side note, this was the building, that 85 case with Pap and Black Butch, that Mexico run thing, the Richard Canales thing.
Which my best friend's stepfather was the plug in that case,
right.
Which is weird.
Which is crazy, again, connection. The Fed set up shop in here. Rented out for like 4 units.
Oh, and we're doing the surveillance.
Just doing the surveillance.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so lot of underworld history here on Geneva, man. Shout out to HP. We got Rodney, that whole crew, Voodoo, all of them. R.I.P. John Leroy, that whole crew that was over here at the time. Shout out to the Hurley family.
Motown Mafia, Courtney Brown, Al Profit, HP Game.
HP Game.
100 years.
100 years. Holla.